So here we are back again, Ski Rex Media Podcast every Wednesday, as you know. And again, we're going to go into the whole educational side of it. Again, you know, I talk to anybody, I talk to everybody because I don't know what I'm talking about. I never have, never do. Why be arrogant and pretend? So we're going to talk to another person who runs a mountain, and a very interesting mountain at that. First, we're going to talk about the mountain that I am partnered with currently. That is Whaleback Mountain, also in New Hampshire, Enfield, New Hampshire, exit 16, right off of I-89. I love the place. Now, some people would say, Tim, don't you feel a little weird doing that in front of Tim Smith? Talk about it. I'm like, nah, dude, he knows John too. He does.
Absolutely.
See,
Absolutely.
He knows him.
Whaleback's a great spot. Get out there and enjoy it.
See, there you go. No competitive nonsense. We're all friends here. Whaleback is awesome. They have everything you want in a small package. You want steeps, they got steeps. You want groomed, they got groomed. You want natural, they got natural. They'll teach you how to do it. They'll rent you the stuff to do it. It is right there. There's nothing going on that exit. So, yes, there's other businesses, but please, the Whaleback is the game right there, and that's where I go, and it's a lot of fun in the summer too. Whaleback Mountain, ski it to believe it. Also in New Hampshire, that's right, the Vermont boy is working with New Hampshire folks. Saint Custom Skis and Snowboards up there in Gorham, New Hampshire. How custom you want it? You want custom length? You want custom width? You want custom graphics with swear words and naughty pictures? KJ and Kevin will put whatever you want on it, and they'll build it to the exact specifications you give them. I came to them with something. They said, not only can we do that, we could do this. And it's still kind of a surprise because I think a lot of people are going to hate on my pair when I get them. But you know what? They're metal. I've shown off the graphics. It looks like something off some hair metal CD from back in the 80s or album, depending on what you used back then. St. Custom Skis and Snowboards. Links to Whaleback and St. Custom Skis in the description. Go ahead, check them out if you need skis and a place to use them, or a snowboard and a place to use them. Now that I've done all that, let's get to our guest, Tim Smith. Tim, how you doing? Two Tims.
Doing fantastic, man. I do want to say one more shout out to Whaleback. They are a nonprofit, so that it really is a great cause to go out there and ski there, spend your money there. You know, it's a really great ski resort. They do a really good job up there, and it's a great operation. Of course, I want you at Waterville, but there's plenty of skiing to go around.
Absolutely. There's a ton of skiing to go around, and I do love Whaleback, but I really love Waterville too. I got my, I had my first experience up there last season due to the Indy Pass. Very wonderful. I assume you all love the Indy Pass over there.
Absolutely. Indy Pass has been a great partner. We're on year 3 now. The things Doug Fish has been able to do for our industry, keeping all of the smaller guys, the ones that are non-corporate, the ones that have that real core feel to them, keeping them on the front of the news and giving us some good shout outs. It's people like you though that, you know, experience that you get from an indie mountain. It's quite different than the corporate mountains, and we're super proud to be partnered with them.
100%, dude. I love the indie mountains. I do. I mean, I'll ski the corporate guys too. I have, you know, whatever. But you will find me more often than not, like, I don't go over to the place with the K very often. I just don't. I go to Waterville. I go to Whaleback. I go to the Skiway. I was at Skiway a couple weeks ago. And New Hampshire has a ton of great places on the Indy Pass, but Waterville is what we're here to talk about today. And we're going to talk about to Tim Smith. We're going to ask him how he got to where he is. Now, we brought up John Hunt and Whaleback. He didn't know anything about a ski mountain, and yet he's there running one. It happens more often than you think. Tim, is that how you got into it or no?
Absolutely not. No,
okay.
my family, I was born and bred in the ski industry. My dad was a ski patrol director. My uncle was a designer for Winter Park, Colorado.
Nice.
My grandfather cut the trees of my hometown ski resort. My great-grandmother remembers skiing down on barrel stays down a former ski resort called Sugarloaf in northern Michigan. So it's in my blood. It absolutely is in my blood. And I ended up going to school for it, got a degree in ski area business management. Big shout out to all the Sams out there from Gogebic Community College in northern Michigan. And then I went on to Northern Michigan University, got my bachelor's degree, and worked throughout the industry for the big corporates, all the way down to the tiny 501c3s, and started 2 small ski resorts in the Midwest, and then moved my way east. I was recruited by Peak Resorts, worked for them for quite a while at Crotched Mountain. Shout out to all my Crotched Mountain guys. And then I was brought up here by Chris Sununu to help operate this facility. And then he promoted me about 6 months later to general manager. And then when he became governor, I got the promotion to president.
Wow. That's a
In a
career, man.
nutshell, there it is.
Wow. So you have literally, you weren't kidding. Like he said, he was born into it. You're on like fifth generation, dude. What's that like?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The coolest thing was is when I was able to hire my uncle, and
Nice.
he actually became our planner for the mountain. And
Hmm.
he currently is the one working on all of our development plans. And he did the development plans for Winter Park, Colorado in his younger days. And it's just so cool to be able to work directly with my uncle, and have it in the family, and the visions and everything that we have about the resort kind of, come together. And then we can eloquently put that across to the Forest Service and to our third party planning group that we use. And being able to use that together, but keeping it in the family is really cool. The other part about the family part of it is my wife runs the accounting. So this is truly a mom and pop ski resort.
Wow. Holy
So
smokes.
she runs all the money, so I can't go crazy with it. And
Ah,
then we work for the Sununus, the Sununu family, and that entire family aspect of it is one of the coolest parts about my job, I would say.
that is I mean, who knew? Like, I knew the Sununu family was the part of the mountain. I knew that their name is on the deed, I believe. And, that's a name where people hear it, they recognize it either as governor. And I did when I lived in New Hampshire when I first got back east. I voted for Chris Sununu. I won't lie about it. But the last place I heard the Sununu name was when I was a little kid. People watching Murphy Brown. It was always a bit back in the day. What's it like to be? Do you ever get ribbed for working for politicians? Like, is that a thing? I don't even know.
No, not really. I mean, it's church and state. They don't bring politics here. I don't bring politics there. I concentrate on what I do. They concentrate on what they do. The big thing is that I work directly for John H., Chris' father, and it's really, really cool to work for somebody that's that intelligent, that
Sure.
quick-witted. The ability for him to analyze a problem and help me, figure out what to do, how to move next is really, really awesome. But I also, I consult with the entire family. James Sununu, Chris's brother, Michael Sununu, Chris's other brother, they're all very in touch with what we're doing here. And it's really great to be able to have that sounding board and, the longevity that they have with the resort, being able to have that for me to reference back to, and development plans are really their development plans. We pitch stuff,
Sure.
but they're the ones really driving the ship. So
That's awesome, man. Like it is an interesting. It's interesting when a mountain stays in a family or becomes part of a family. Like we could talk about Bolton. The Deloriers had it, then sold it, then come back to it. So you really can't get away from it. And now the Sununus haven't ever been there. And if I'm not mistaken, John H. was the one who spoke at the lift opening last month, right?
yeah, that was awesome. It was great to get him back out in front of a microphone.
Dude, he was awesome. Like I've said that to people. I was like, man, what a character, dude. He just owned the whole thing. Like no one cared about Tim being there anymore. No one cared about the 2 or 3 other people that were speaking anymore. He just owned it, dude. What an awesome person. That was so cool.
Yeah, it was. And it was awesome to have him there, not only for that, but also for the support for me to have him there during what turned out to be pretty trying, just trying to get the lift open. It's a huge lift, a massive undertaking. First day is never going to go smoothly. So we ended up having to postpone opening. I think it was almost 2 hours long. And we were working hard to get that lift open, and we got it open. And then we had a bunch of stops on it. And
Hold on. Time out. You're gone. You're gone. Why are you gone? What happened? What happened? Why is he muted? And now he's back. No, he's not. Now he's not. Okay, hold on. The question is if I can fix it, will I keep it in?
okay, wait, hold on. Am I back?
Yeah, you are. You figured it out.
For some reason, my phone took over my mic.
Ah.
I am going to turn that off.
All right, cool.
I apologize. Where
No,
were
that's
we?
cool, man. Let's see. We were talking about John and the lift. Yes, the trying day of the lift opening, which is cool because I do want to get into that too.
So you want me to start off from John speaking?
Well, no, that's all right. I think we can go. And you know what? I'm going to leave it in. I'm real. That's
Right.
fine. These things happen, dude.
Sounds good,
It's
man.
okay.
No
But
worries.
yeah, so we were saying that John was awesome, and then we were talking about the lift. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was that I was there. I was at ground level, met a whole bunch of people from Waterville, and that was a lot of fun. It was really great.
Yeah.
And the thing that I saw, I mean, if we start at the beginning, yes, it was a 2 hour delay. Things happened day one, but the fans never really went away. They stood there in that line. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's the Waterville way, right? I mean, we're a big
Yeah.
family here. We understand things are going to happen. You know, the any lift, I don't care if it's a fixed grip quad or a fixed grip double or all the way up to these new 8-packs. Any
Sure.
new lift, you're going to have some issues with. And, you know, we started to experience them that day. And I describe it like breaking in a stallion, right?
Sure.
Like you got to take some time, you got to break it in, and she's going to buck, she's going to whine, she's going to, you know, show you new tricks that you've never seen before. And that's what you go through with a new chairlift. And you're going to see this across the entire industry. We've put in the most lifts since, I think, 98. We put the most lifts in North America since 1998 this year. And you'll see that at pretty much every lift you go to, they're going to have a bit of a trying time. So to everybody who's out and excited about the lifts, you know, just be patient. Some days are going to be better than others. Other days are going to be a little harder. You know, it's just you learn new things every day. For instance, our wind. We designed this lift to be highly wind resistant, and our wind, you know, from at Waterville has always been north-northwest. We call it the no Waterville wind. And when we get a north-northwest wind, we have a hard time running the old White Peaks lift. However, and it's only at about 40 miles an hour. However, once we got the new lift running, we experienced a completely different wind, a southeast wind. Totally weird wind here. We don't see southeast winds, but it was during a storm, and the wind came straight up the lift line and started catching the chairs at a different aspect than we've experienced before, and started swinging the lift a little bit left and right. And so we went down, looked at the lift, evaluated the sway, and said, you know, I'm not comfortable. Let's slow the lift down. So we slowed it from 4 meters per second down to 2 meters per second, straight right out. Lift was completely silent. So then we were able to start moving that lift speed up just a little bit, and we got it up to about 3.5 meters per second, and we stopped there. So it was only 0.5 meter per second less, but that allowed the lift to calm down. Really cool, because we can do that now with this new lift. Before, it used to be, well, it's either off or it's on. Now we have the ability to throttle it up or throttle it down, depending on the conditions. You know, bubbles up, bubbles down, all those types of things give us these operational ability to change for the circumstance that we're under.
That's incredible. What a piece of technology. Like, it looks like something out of the future. I hadn't seen it. Like, I mean, I saw the pictures and stuff, social media, whatever, but you get there and you're looking at it and it's like, wow, this thing is incredible. Like, it's this, it just looks massive and futuristic, and it's great. And now it can do cool things. And the people were so ready for it. I'll tell you what, we'll get into some of the issues, but when people were waiting, you know, there was a line. There were people, I was talking to them like, we want to be first. I'm like, well, you're not going to be first. I know who's going to be first already. Like, I already knew, but you'll be second. So that's cool. But, you know, I think it was you announced, like, this is so New England ski. Like, this is how it works here. It felt very stereotypical, but it was funny because I think Tim, he announced that, yeah, we got about, whatever it was, 45 minutes, an hour before we could actually go. Everybody jumped from the line to the other lift, went and took runs, and then ran back to get back in line. Like, it was ridiculous. I don't know if you got to see that happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We're playing games. We knew that there could be some issues. It's opening day, right? I mean, sure. So we had trivia games going. We had hot chocolate going. We had, you know, I was trying to crack jokes and answer questions about the lift, and it was great. I mean, people were responding to that really wonderfully. The crowd, yeah, they took off for about 45 minutes to an hour. They all came back. We had great conversations. And that early in the year, I mean, the people that are skiing that early in the year are going to be the hardcore fans of the resorts that they're going to. And it was great having all of those people there for that opening day. If you remember, I got my buddy Mav up there with me, a 6-year-old from the local school, and it was pretty cool to have somebody from the last chair of the White Peaks on the same chair as this little kid, you know, Maverick, taking the first chair up with me who's going to be here for, as long as this lift is around. So
Yeah,
pretty
totally.
cool to pass on generationally through the Waterville Valley community.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun, dude. Like, everybody came together, and it didn't seem to bother anybody that they had to wait. Everybody got to check out that massive monster truck you all have. That thing's incredible. I was like poking around at it, like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. But it was a great lift, and now again, I'll be honest, I only got one run in off the lift because I wasn't ready. I'm not gonna lie, you can't ski yourself into shape. I know that, and yet I tried to do it anyway. But the only thing I saw with it, like there were a couple stops, and that it is what it is. We've all been on stops before, but the bubbles themselves were not auto popping up. Was that like the only real problem that day, or was there multitude of
we
things?
had some cadencing issues. So cadencing is the spacing between the chairs.
Okay.
And how that's regulated. So the chair comes off the line, and then it gets put back on the line because it's detachable. And when it comes back on the line, it needs to be put back in a very specific spot.
Okay.
And if that cadencing for some reason doesn't work quite right, you can hit a stop. So that was happening a little bit. The bubbles were unfortunate. The bubbles, we didn't have the auto close. We still don't have the auto close on right now. We're still playing around with some of the adjustments on the auto open, auto close. The bubbles some of them were a bit loose, some of them were a bit tight, so we adjusted those. They're all working great. They do open, they do close. We just don't have it on right now because we haven't needed it. Sure. So we haven't put it on. There's really for the windy days when you want to auto close the bubbles. So anyways, the little things, little tweaks here and there. The biggest thing that we've learned about the lift though is the technology. We have a NEDIC design safety system on this where you can see everything. For instance, I've been a lift mechanic for a very long time. And when I first learned about how to test a gearbox for being too hot, it was put your hand on top of the gearbox. If you can leave it there for 3 seconds, you're good. And
old school style.
Old school style, right? You do a motor room check, you put your hand on the gearbox. And so at one point, I think it was about maybe 2 weeks ago now, we had a gearbox fault come up and it said thermal overload switch. And I said, gearbox thermal overload switch. It sounds like something that might run the motor or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm up there hunting around trying to figure it out. And then we get a stop, and the stop is a gearbox overtemp. And I'm looking around and go, oh yeah, the gearbox is a little warm. Did my hand test. And I was like, thermal switch, that probably has to do with the motor. I traced the motor back and I found a switch that was tripped, and I tripped it back on. Coolant starts going back through the gearbox. We're all good to go back down to the bottom. I hit reset, and then in the computer screen, I started tracing back the thermal switch, and the thermal switch trip that had happened about 30 minutes before. And I found a screen on there that shows me exactly the temperature of the gearbox. If the motor's running, if the motor thermal switch gets kicked off. It also it tells you all of the details that as a lift mechanic you just drool over. So it's so cool that I could see it right there. So now when I walk into the lift shack, I just hit this button and I can see, it looks like the gearbox is running at temp. Oh, and it's also logging it, so I can see on the log, I can actually see what the temperature's been. It's so cool. It's so many little things like that just geek me out about this lift.
I can imagine, like it's half a robot, and you can almost expect the thing to stand up and just walk away. If that's how you put it away for the night, it gets up and it walks away. It's very cool. It is unique. Now, this is something I wanted to ask you. I had you here because this is something I was unclear on. What makes this unique, this lift? Because I've ridden sixes, I've seen sixes. Why is this one unique?
So this one's actually a Barthollet manufactured lift distributed by M&D Ropeways out of France. M&D Ropeways has been a great partner of ours. We bought a bunch of their snow guns. The conveyors that we have are M&D conveyors. The T-bar at the top is an M&D T-bar. So they're a trusted distributor of many different parts. They do everything from Fun Tech, which is all of your zip lines and all that kind of stuff, all the way to the signage. Just the little signage that you see around here, the green unique signage that we have that says Waterville Valley on the side of it. Sure. All of that event fencing, that's all done by M&D Safety. Really cool product lines. They do all sorts of stuff. The only thing they don't touch is really groomers. But they partnered with Barthollet to distribute Barthollet detachable chairlifts. Barthollet's been around since I believe the 1950s or 40s maybe even. and they've been doing chairlifts for a very long time. They have chairlifts all over the world, but they've never had one in North America.
Got it.
We're officially the first North American Bartholet M&D chairlift. The cool thing about this is Bartholet is a Swiss company, and it's really Swiss engineering. That's why when you look at our chairlift, it looks different. You can see the little differences, and if you're a lift mechanic or anyone that really gets into lifts, you'll notice all these little differences. The axles have multiple grease points that allow you to get the grease exactly where the axle needs the grease at. It's got very, very high tension. The rope is absolutely massive. When we were splicing it, the splicer that came over from Italy said, "Oh, you're building a gondola, right?" Nope, not a gondola. This is a 6-pack. Biggest rope I've ever seen on a 6-pack. And I go, yep, we're reducing the wind because we had this super high tension on it. And anyhow, so we wanted to be very specific with this lift. I went over to France twice to look at different lifts, talked to the operator of Val Thorens, who runs 82 of the 184 lifts of the Three Valleys. And we talked a lot about the differences in the lift manufacturers and, all of that. And we worked with the other lift manufacturers, which are great also. No knocks on any lift manufacturer. It's a tough gig, and every lift manufacturer has different niches that they fit into. And we just felt Bartholet and MND really fit this niche for this lift. It was very specific engineering. They ended up putting the bubbles through the wind tunnels to test how much wind resistance they could actually sustain. They put heavy loading on all the shiv trains, super high tension, moved the drive terminal to the bottom, a bunch of stuff to try to make it more wind resistant. The carriers are the heaviest 6-pack carrier there is in existence to help reduce the amount of sway in the wind. I mentioned the tower spacing. We used to have 26 towers on White Peaks Quad. We now have 13 towers on the Tecumseh 6-pack. And that's to make sure that everything's heavily weighted. And these big spans make heavily weighted on all of those shiv trains. So when the rope goes through the shiv train, the rope stops twisting with the wind and it calms it down. So a lot of high-tech engineering, Swiss engineering went into this lift. And, I think we did the right call there. And the years of research and development that I put into making sure that we bought the right lift for the right spot, I think will pay off.
I think you're right, dude. Just from how you've been talking about it, I think you've sold this to non-skiers and riders. Like, you're going to have local engineers who are just be like, dude, I just want to go look at the lift. Like, I've never skied a day in my life, but I want to go poke around. It's very
absolutely
cool. I mean, it really is a Euro sports car of a lift. It's a limousine chair. You sit in it. It is nice. The seats were designed by Porsche, I think. Was that you guys?
Yep. Yeah, that's Porsche Design Studios. That's Bartholet M&D partner.
Yeah. It's fancy, and I enjoyed it. It was trucking the day I was there, and I assume it's safe. So we've talked about the issues, but it is safe. Let's just say
it's amazingly safe. I mean, the amount of safety controls that we have on this, the Nidec design safety controls, is absolutely phenomenal. For instance, the each tower is monitored by brittle bars and rope detection devices. The rope detection devices can exactly tell you where that rope is tracking on the shiv. And then all of these brittle bars track each pair section all the way through. So I want to say one of the towers has something like, I want to say it's 14 different safety protections just on the tower. All of those are wired into what's called a smart box. Each one of those smart boxes then transmits their signal down into the DDS that's down at the bottom of the drive terminal, which then transmits that back to the computer. So all of this stuff is driven like by the most technological, fanciest equipment. And actually, the issues that we're having most of the time is just us not understanding what the computer's trying to do, because we're going back to like putting our hand on the gearbox. And this thing's like, driving a Ferrari down the street. So we just got to figure out how to drive that Ferrari.
Man, that's ridiculous. The thing's a robot, and soon you're not even going to need lifties. I feel bad.
You know what? If you go to Europe, they don't have them.
What? How can you get rid of lifties?
Val Thorens, France, said has a gondola that is fully operatorless. It's all done electronically. Now, sure, there's a camera that watches over everything, and there's someone behind the camera, but they don't have operators.
I can't even imagine that. Like, the lifty is such a mainstay that's like your first contact point when you get there. I mean, okay, you go to the ticket window, but who knows what's going on that day? The lifties, they're there to greet you. They say hello.
Yeah, then we'll never get rid of the lift operators. Lift operators, it's really interesting also to understand the difference between a lift operator and a lift attendant. If you read the ENT code book, the lift operator is actually the person, when it was written, it was the person that was driving the lift. So when you're driving the lift, back in the day, it used to be the guy that was in the Model T truck with his foot on the clutch. And the attendant was the one that was at the bottom loading everyone on the T-bar. And if there was a problem, the attendant waved their arm and the operator stopped the lift. That's how it used to work.
See, that's a great history lesson because I didn't know that. Like, I didn't realize the lift operator moniker was literal and has been for, 120 years or something now, whenever the technology started.
But nowadays, a lift operator hits the green button and a lift attendant is only allowed to hit the red button.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it kind of, I get technology. I get where technology can make things quicker, but even so, people have said the same thing with RFID. Now, I saw in the line, you had a ticket checker and a pass checker with an RFID. What do they call? We used to call them a sled. I think whatever company makes them calls it a sled. I forget the company. We used them. Yeah, the hand scanner. We used them back in Target right before I was getting out of retail and logistics. All this technology started to go in there as well. So I've seen it, I've used it, but I was like, aha, you don't have the gate. That's just an arm.
I'm sorry, but I hate the gate. I'm a firm believer in gateless technology. Now, I do have a gate for the new lift, and that is an operational efficiency item because the gate on the new lift announces when you're supposed to move out. Yes. And the main thing that keeps a lift running smoothly is the loading. The loading has to be smooth. So that's why I have a gate at the load. So don't get me wrong. I like gates in certain aspects, just not the security gate. I don't believe, so my whole take on this is, I don't believe I need to scan the customer every time they come down on a run with a gate and make the customer prove to me, once again, that they've purchased a ticket.
Sure.
Now, I do need to go out there. I need to make sure everyone's purchased a ticket. I need to do my scanning. And that also needs to be a personal touch. As you talked about with the lift operator, I want to have a person-to-person contact saying, excuse me, sir, can I check your pass? Oh, absolutely. No problem. Here it is. And they scan you. Now, I don't like the barcode thing's a little intimate, right? Remember the old days when they grabbed your ticket and they scanned the barcode? Little intimate. Yeah. The RFID scanners allow for a little bit more separation between the scanner and the person getting scanned. It also makes them more efficient. They can move quicker through the line, which has been a great advantage. But the other part of this is we also scan every time they come up and down the lift. Mm-hmm. We have passive scanners all over the resort. If you look around the resort, you'll see these 6x6 squares. And those are scanning all of the RFID tags. And I get this a lot. Why do if you're wearing an RFID ticket, why do I want everyone to wear the RFID ticket on the outside of their jacket? Because everyone's getting used to having the RFID in their sleeve, right? So they can scan to get the dang gate open.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get everyone to wear their RFID ticket on the outside of their pants because if they block it with their cell phone or with their wallet or anything like that, I don't get clean reads on what lift they're riding.
Sure.
And that data then comes back to me and I can say that we're busier on this lift or that lift, and then that can change my operational plan to better my product. So it's not just about security. It's also about the data. And I'm trying to get the data to be able to say, hey, we moved the park up to high country.
Yep.
When we moved the park up to high country, the high country lift all of a sudden saw a 33% increase in operations that day because we had that up there, or there was a weather condition that increased the number of skiers that we had up there. That's what I'm driving to get to, is get that data. It also gives me really good skier data on how often people are skiing, things of that sort. So that's really what I'm going at with that RFID and trying to leave the pass on the outside. I just get cleaner scan data from that.
And that's really interesting to me. Again, this is the technology we were starting to see as I was getting out of logistics, out of retail. And again, it was the same hand unit. You can just walk past a couple of racks of clothes and it's going to count everything on there, provided it's tagged. So I get the technology. I just never thought of it just being always on. And when you're at these mountains that use RFID, just don't put anything else in the same pocket. Put the card or whatever in one pocket, put everything else in your back pocket. It's just better for everyone. And now
Yeah.
Tim is giving you a reason to keep it on the outside. But that was something unique. I had never seen another mountain. Everybody who you go to a ticket window, they give you your new RFID card. They say, just what I said, don't put it in a pocket that's whatever and put it on the left side, right side, whatever they suggest. But you all still don't have a wicket, which is, for some people a little sad, but you zip tie it to your jacket. And it's like, that's interesting. Why? Now I know why. Education, kids.
Just cleaner scan data. This all started for me. This whole RFID thing started probably 10 to 15 years ago. I was working down at Crotchet Mountain Peak Resorts, and Chris Bradford, shout out to Chris Bradford, amazing guy, a technology wizard.
Sure.
He started working with RFID and started telling me about this theory. And when I came to Waterville, we tested it out for a few years here. He and I did. And then we found this organization out of Wisconsin, White Peaks Technology, that was interested in doing things the way we were doing it. And they had a POS system, too, that could integrate with this. And so we used our POS system to integrate with our RFID system to make this seamless product. And we're still working on it, still under development. We're still learning things every day about it, but we're doing it a little bit differently. I'm a little bit old school. I like to develop things and I like to figure it out. And I like the freedom that I get to do that in, being a large independent ski resort. Sure. I get the freedom to work these things out and make my product slightly different than my competition.
Absolutely. Now, it's amazing. My first experience with Waterville Valley, having heard of it growing up, I grew up in Southern Vermont. I knew it was there, never took the time to go because I worked for the American Skiing Company, which many of those mountains ended up with Peak, but I didn't because I left. So that's a whole thing. But has Waterville always been on the forefront of technology? Like, you talk to a lot of mountains and they implement stuff, but it sounds like Waterville is right there pushing the technology. Like, we want to be first.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily first. I always tell everybody around here, I'm either the smartest general manager in the room or I'm the dumbest. I'm never mediocre. Some things I can't figure out which side I'm on.
Sure.
I try to stay humble. I try to work on things. I try to make things a little bit different. I think that in the position that we're at with this mountain and in this industry, we need to have some outliers and some disruptors. And I like to be in that ballpark. It's where I kind of thrive. I like to be in that arena where I'm trying new and different things. And I'm very fortunate to work for a ownership group that allows me to do those things.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you're having a good time with it. Are you still having fun?
I'm always having fun, man. This is skiing. This is a ski business. I don't get out nearly as much as I would like to. I was just on the phone the other night. I was on the phone with one of my best friends, and I was just saying how I love to ski. And when I was operations director, I was able to get out and ski a lot more than I am now because I'm doing a lot of things in the office these days. And I was kind of just going back to my days of all the operations, because I was operations director up until, was it 7 years ago now?
Totally.
And when it would get cruddy out, like it has been the past few days, that was my opportunity to get out on the mountain, see what I did. Yeah. And then I'd reassess and go out there and hit it, hammer it hard again. That's where I fall back to. Even today, I was very tempted to jump in a snowcat today and go push out Green Peak. I called up my operations director and I asked him where he was at. I think it was about 11 o'clock this morning, and he was already halfway down. I go, oh, come on, man. Like, there's no reason for me to go out there now. You guys are crushing it. You're doing so good. So it's always one of those things that I always get back to, and I love that part of it. I love the aspect. I worked on the conveyors today. I worked on Green Peak. I worked on the lift over there today. I love getting my hands dirty. I love getting into it. And for me, you talk about fun. The best part about this job is the people I work with. The team that I have, that we've been able to work together for the past 8 years since I've been here, and we've developed an incredibly tight-knit team that is all about running this mountain as best we can. And then also you have to remember, we're a full resort. So we have Town Square. So we have all the condos, 32 condos in Town Square. We have all the business entities down there. We also have the hotel. We have employee housing. We have land development stuff that we're doing right now. And when we start talking as a team, and we're all kind of jiving. Oh, the conference center. I didn't even mention the conference center. But when everything's pushing forward and we're all jiving, we're all working towards that common goal, it's so cool. It's just such a powerful force. And I got to say, we have one of one of the best teams I've ever worked with. Everything from the front line, the J1 Visa International Exchange visitors that we bring up from South America that are only with us for 3 months, all the way up to, you know, guys like Barry St. Cyr, my operations director, who's been with me the whole time, and he's been here since the 1990s. You know, the longevity from that. Oh, talk about longevity. Butch Cushings, our lift operations manager.
Yeah.
I think he was born on the mountain. I'm pretty certain of it. But yeah, he's been here since the 60s and 70s. And he knows everything, and he's so great to reference back to. I was thinking about this morning, you know, to go back, and I have a problem. I'm trying to figure something out, and I go back to Butch, and I just, you know, kind of use him as a mirror to look back on. And he goes, "Oh yeah, we had that problem back in the 90s. You know, this is what we did about it."
Huh. Awesome, so cool. Dude. That's wicked so
cool. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's really what makes me happy. That's what makes me so fulfilled, is working with these people. That's what makes it fun.
See, and that, I feel like a lot of people will tell you about working in the industry. It can be a bear. It can get you. But those who are there, those who are in the position similar to Tim or even John Hunt, like I said, who wasn't of skiing background. He had a whole other career path and ended up running a mountain. Hathaway down there at Magic, he had a whole to-do. They want to be there, even though they're doing everything else. Like Hathaway will tell you, I think it's him who talks about if his favorite GM job is being a parking attendant, I think, is his thing. And yours clearly is operations in this case, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
There you go.
Where I gravitate.
Yeah, so there you go. Everybody has more than one job. The further up the ladder you go, it doesn't get easier. You just get an office.
But you're never in it.
Yeah, like there's no reason for it to be there. Like to do silly stuff like this, sure, but you know, you got to do other things, man. And Waterville is great. You can see it when you're walking around talking to people, when you see the different people doing their jobs. That day I was there. I met your media person, Sarah, that day for the first time. She was not at McIntyre, which is where I first started meeting Waterville people, because she had the COVID, I think, or something. Very nice, but she was running around doing 10 different things at once too. She's like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Dude, I get it. I was there. I worked there, man. Like, not at Waterville. I was at Mount Snow." But same idea applies. But everybody is so nice. They're so knowledgeable. They want to be there. And man, that's the employee you want. You don't want the one who wants the check. You want the one who wants to be there. Like, tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're 100% right. And at the end of the day, you know, we all have to make a living. We all have to make a life, and we all want to do that. And we want to provide the best life possible for everybody who works with us. But nevertheless, in the ski industry, you know, one of the first things that I learned in Ski Operations 101, the first day, Randy Mazzano, the director at the time of the Ski Management Program, said, "If you're in this for the money, just leave this room now."
Yep.
Because this is not the industry that you're in it for the money. You're in it for the passion. And I'll never forget that. Actually, I took those words of advice very early on in life. And when I was working for Beaver Creek, Colorado as a snowmaking supervisor, I was needing some extra money. So I went out and bartended and realized that I just need to supplement my income in a different way. And that's the way I was able to live this different lifestyle. It is a sacrifice. There's no doubt about it. My entire family lives it every day. I don't know the last time that I went back to Michigan for a holiday. Probably never will. But yeah, at my day, Thanksgiving Day, you'll find me in a snowcat, and I'll be happy as can be. I'll make it home. I'll make it home for turkey. We'll have a great turkey dinner. I got 2 twin boys. They are fantastic, and they live the industry with us. I'm actually looking at their ski boots in my office right now. And how cool is that?
That's super cool, dude. When it is literally a part of the family. They're what now, 6th generation. They'll be running hills somewhere. Maybe, obviously, I know, the parents don't always push kids into things. That's not cool. But, maybe Tim will. I don't know. I'm all for that too. Parent how you want. I don't care.
I got one that would probably take it over today, and I got one that wants nothing to do with it.
And there you go. The beauty of twins, ladies and gentlemen, they're never the same. Even if they're identicals, they're not the same.
That's the craziest part.
There it is. They're identicals, and one will be there at dad's side, and the other's like, heck with this, I'm going home. Good boy. I love it. Make up your own mind, man. So speaking of Michigan, dude, what is that like then coming over? And you've been in the industry all over the country, so you've seen it from New England to the Rockies up into Michigan. Now, Michigan is a place I've been to very little bit. Don't know anything about this state at all, especially the skiing, man. What is that like? Like that's
I always laugh because our high country pod, which is at the top of our mountain, is about the size of my hometown ski area. It's actually a little bigger. That's 450 vertical feet up there. My hometown ski area was 250 vertical feet.
Wow, little.
little. But the passion that you talk about with these indie resorts, that's what keeps those things running. Do you know the number one, the state with the most ski areas in the United States?
New York.
You know which one it is?
New York.
New York. Do you know number two?
Is it Michigan?
It's Michigan.
Yeah, I never knew that. I just guessed because we were talking
crazy,
about it.
Man. There is so many ski resorts in Michigan, northern part of Michigan, up by where I grew up in Traverse City. We're within 2 hours of, I think, like 10 ski resorts. It's crazy.
Wow, dude.
We get the lake effect snow that comes off of Lake Michigan during the wintertime. You get loaded up with a bunch of snow. The only hardship that I ever had there, for one, the mountains they're just hills. They're very small. For two, the sun just doesn't come out, and it's super high humidity, so it makes it hard snowmaking. Moved up to Marquette, Michigan, where you get the Porcupine Mountain areas. You got some great ski resorts up there. You got now not Blackjack, but Blackjack, Indian Head, Powderhorn, White Caps. Those are all in the snow belt around Ironwood. You got Marquette Mountain. You got, of course, Mount Bohemia. Everyone's heard of Mount Bohemia.
Sure.
Those are all in the snow belt from the Lake Superior side, and those guys will get hammered with like 500 inches of snow. Sure, you're only maxing out 1,000 vertical feet in Mount Bohemia, but when you get 500 inches of snow, it's insane. The year I spent up in that neck of the woods, we had 520 inches of snow. It was absolutely nuts. And they don't even plow the roads at that point. They just get the soft stuff off, and you drive on top of the harder stuff. It's wild. It's a different world up there. It's very much, I assimilate it to, in this area, like northern Maine.
Okay,
it's very northern Maine-ish. So when I moved out west, of course, my uncle was working for Winter Park, Colorado. I had spent some time out there. I thought that's where I'm going to live. That's my goal in life, is I'm going to live in the Rockies. I'm going to live in Colorado. So I moved out there as a young man, worked in snowmaking, loved it. Bought a condo, lived out there for a number of years, absolutely loved it. But I just didn't feel the passion that I felt from the Midwest. And so I got a call from a good friend of mine that was helping reopen the ski resort that I grew up at, Mount Holiday. This is the ski resort my grandfather cut the trees down for. My dad was a patrol director at. He calls me up and he says, "Hey, Tim, just let you know we're starting Mount Holiday and just wanted to know if you'd have any interest in coming back and helping get it restarted." And I dropped everything and I moved back to Michigan, helped to restart that for a year. As a 501c3, got the race program back up and running. I was the lodge manager, but that was, quickly I gravitated again towards operations, got out there running the snowcats, did the snowmaking, helped fix chairlifts, those types of things, got that thing back up and running. But I was in my 20s and I just couldn't quite see myself staying there forever. So I moved back to Colorado, wanted to get back out to the big mountains. But I spent, I think, 2 more years out there, and I needed that passion. After experiencing reopening my hometown ski resort, I wanted the passion again.
Sure.
And I wanted to get that feeling of that grittiness, that hard work ethic, you can really see how your hard work is paying off in your product. Yeah. And so I went back to Wisconsin and got hooked up with a little place called Hidden Valley, just south of Green Bay. This place, I think it was 150 vertical feet. Very small. 6 rope toes, 1 chairlift. It had been closed down for, I think, 3 years. Didn't have a place to put the snowcat. Didn't have a garage to put the snowcat in. So when I worked on the snowcat, I had to work on it outside. It was a totally different beast. But talk about passion. We're talking Green Bay, Wisconsin. I came into Green Bay, Wisconsin, and within 2 weeks, I was invited to a Thanksgiving dinner. These people welcomed me with the biggest, most passionate, open arms. They're so excited. I'm actually having some friends from there that are still great friends of mine. They're coming out to visit us in March. So excited to see them. But that's what I found in the Midwest, is I found that super passionate idea of running a ski resort. And that's what attracted me to Peak Resorts, because Peak Resorts was a Midwestern company.
Yeah, totally.
Ran by a Midwestern family, the Boyd family. And so when I was deciding to leave, because it was just a little small, didn't see a great future there, decided to leave, hooked up with SMI Snowmaking, which is out of Michigan. I'm great friends with those guys there. And when they said, when I talked to them at a Midwestern trade show, they said, when you decide to leave, I want to be your first phone call. So I called up Tom Fillmore. He hooked me up with guys at Peak Resorts. They recruited me to come east. I never thought I'd end up on the East Coast.
Yeah.
That was like the furthest thing. All I had ever heard about the East Coast was the Ice Coast.
Yeah, man.
Totally. And I was thinking, oh, this place is going to be wild. I don't know what to expect. So I got recruited to go to Crotched Mountain, and it was different. I'll say that. My first couple years, I was working with fan gun technology, which is something that's real near and dear to my heart, because fan guns are they're SMI out of Michigan. They're a piece of equipment I've used my entire life. And so we ended up using that equipment at Crotched. We had 110 when I first started, and I was able to work on that lift. It was awesome, on that facility, which was awesome. It made me feel a little more grounded because it was Midwestern.
Sure.
But at the same time, I got to learn the East, and I got to learn about the people on the East and what they wanted, what they desired. So when I came up to Waterville, I kind of had like this already in of like spending 6 years on an East Coast ski resort, realizing what we needed. We needed racing. We needed parks. We needed to manicure our product to the best quality possible. You needed to have amazing snowmaking. When you talk about grit, you really experience it when you're on this East Coast. It is so competitive. I mean, we have how many ski resorts just on the 93 corridor?
Oh, totally.
That is awesome. That is so much fun. You go into the White Mountains and you look up at those mountains. They are legit mountains. These are big mountains. We're skiing over 2,000 vertical feet here at Waterville.
Yep.
The chairlift, this year's chairlift that we put in at Waterville is the largest installation in America.
Yep. Oh, yeah, dude.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And then you go down the mountain and you see these people skiing with their hips checking the snow on their way down. People know how to turn. They understand what the product needs to be, and they're willing to deal with the East Coast, but they expect to have the highest quality. And that's what I love about being here. The expectation that the guest has is far higher than any other place that I've worked at. And it's a challenge every day to deliver that product to this guest expectation level. It's awesome. I love it.
That's awesome. What a way to put it, because you don't hear that. You just don't. You hear things about the East and the ski culture, and there are different cultures. That's one of the reasons, since I had someone from Michigan, I wanted to ask about that, because Michigan is not infamous. That's not the right word, but people that culture is a little different from the East, which is a little different from the Rockies, which is a little different from the California, and so on and so forth. But the East is something to be reckoned with, and it's I don't know. I've had a lot of fun here in the East. Growing up here, living here. Obviously, Tim has a ton of fun too. Tim, 2 Tims, isn't that amazing? Let me ask you something. This just popped in. The way you talk, so passionate, like you're legit, the real deal. He's not a faker. Like that's something we try to move away from here is dishonesty. I don't like that stuff. Now, I don't know if you've ever met him. I haven't met this person since the 90s. Chris Diamond, you remember him?
Oh, I love Chris Diamond. Absolutely.
Great guy. He wrote a book. Do you want to write a book? Because you could write a book.
Yeah, I know. So funny story about Chris Diamond.
Okay.
So Chris Diamond writes the book, Ski Inc. and all of that, right?
Yep, totally.
And so I'm passionate about the ski industry. I follow Chris Diamond. I know who he is. He worked for ASC, and few people know Chris Diamond actually was part of the acquisition team after bankruptcy of Waterville Valley. So when you go through corporate documents, Chris Diamond's name's written on a ton of corporate documents, which is really interesting. They were here for such a short period of time, and they really thought that Waterville had this water issue, this water problem, because we take all of our water from the Mad River. But if you look at the times when Chris Diamond was here, he wasn't here long enough to see the fluctuations in the water.
Sure.
The water fluctuates. It's called the Mad River because it goes mad. That thing will go crazy high when we have water. And having this warm and this cool and all of the stuff that we're dealing with these days, that water is running really high. So we ended up being able to increase our pumping capacity and still meet our minimum stream flows. And that ended up allowing us to extract a little bit more water out of the Mad River and a little bit more consistency in our snowmaking.
Nice.
And he writes that in the book. He doesn't know how Waterville Valley was able to figure out the water capacity issues that they have. And it's because of the MAD and understanding how the MAD works and understanding when you can extract more water and when you cannot. So like right now, we're running super high. We've had all this warm weather.
Totally.
Snow. We had some premature snow. Don't ever say the R word around me. But we had the premature snow that ended up leading into this high river level. So the high river is allowing us to pump out. I think we're a little low right now because we're only running at about 26 degrees wet bulb right now.
Sure.
And so I think we're only at about 2,000 gallons a minute. But tomorrow we should be up there around 3,800 gallons a minute. So we'll get it up there. And that, it's not great. We're still working with a little bit of a pea shooter in a machine gun fight. But the fact is that we're in a good position right now to be able to cover our acreage smart and cover it fast. So there's two ends of the snowmaking system. You got the intake with the water, which is we just talked about, and you got the output, which is the snow guns. And we've been improving our snow gun technology and making stationary areas so we can move fast and get things covered quickly, which is something I learned from my time in Peak Resorts. And so we've been concentrating on that. We do have plans of increasing our snowmaking capacity with a pond, which is a little bit down the road. But right now we're doing quite well. And it's kind of funny to hear Chris Diamond say, I don't know how they figured it out. It wasn't anything we had to figure out. It was right there. It was a water analysis that we did over the high flows that we figured out. But Chris Diamond is an amazing person. And if you ask me to write a book, I think I'm a few years off of that. Maybe in retirement someday I'll have a lot more stories to tell. Everybody asks me, when you retire, what's your ideal job? And I always say, I want to be a ski instructor because I want to go around and tell the stories. I love telling my stories. I mean, I have so many great stories in this industry of all these wonderful people that I've been able to meet, all these mentors from, Felix Kagi to Tom Corcoran to Don Odell in Vail Resorts, all these mentors that I've had throughout my life. And then getting the opportunity to run a ski resort with amazing ownership. I would probably fill up a couple books with all my stories.
And I'd say go for it. Like, I haven't gotten to read Chris Diamond's books. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm a film guy. What can I do? I'm trying to get back into reading. It's a thing. But he is an interesting guy. And I remember meeting him, back in the Mount Snow days in the 90s. And he was on mountain then. And then he just goes up to do all this stuff. And, with all the stories you have, I was like, dude, go for it, man. Sit down, get a ghostwriter, maybe. I don't know. That's awesome.
The cool thing about the Chris Diamond books is he doesn't just hit on the industry. He hits on the culture of working in the industry.
Sure.
And and that culture is so critical to keeping this industry alive. I actually wrote an article that was published in the New Hampshire Business Journal about bringing the ski bum back to the ski town.
Sure.
And it is something, this housing crisis that we're having across America in ski towns is something critical to keeping our ski industry healthy and keeping our culture healthy. We've really got to work on making sure that we have affordable housing for all these people who come in. And it could be that 3-month, international exchange visitor, or it could be the 3-year lift mechanic, or it could be the 30-year mountain operations director. We need to make sure that we can provide a standard of living that matches and makes them excited for what they're doing here. We started back in 15. Chris purchased one of the hotels here, and we turned it into a employee housing complex, and that has been able to help us. We have 4 condos. I think we have 16 hotel rooms and 4 bunkhouses. But we have enough that we can at least supplement a little bit and provide some employee housing. My first year here, my wife and I, it was my second year here. My wife and I were renting a place that had an apartment on the side of it. We brought in 4 international exchange visitors to live there to try to understand, why are they coming to the ski industry? Why are they coming from South America, where it's summer and it's beautiful and it's warm, and then coming up to New Hampshire in the winter where they've never seen snow? Many of them have never seen any snow, and they want to come up here and work for 3 months. Why? And so we had 4 of them living with us, and we did dinners every other Thursday. American dinner one Thursday, the Peruvian dinner the other Thursday, and we talked, and it was all about experiencing culture. And
Totally.
that's important in this industry, is keeping the culture of the industry. That's why independent ski resorts are so critical to making sure this health of this industry is here. And we really have to work on this housing issue, this housing crisis that's going around these mountain towns. So I'm working on some projects and I'm trying to get there, but it's a really big problem.
And it really is. And you hear about it quite often in the industry when people talk about where can we put them, especially in the big money towns where it's, I don't want to sound like that kind of jerk off, but the rich folks, and we know what I mean. We know what I mean. And, so where are the workers going to live? And, people have been coming up with ideas trying to, especially those who come up from other countries on the off season. We, back in my Mount Stowe days, it was South Africans, every year.
H2B.
Yep. And again, you're right. It's a big old culture shock, and it's wonderful because we're all small town kids. Who do we know? It wasn't until years later I moved out of Vermont and started living in cities, so I got to meet people. Now we know people. It's a wonderful to do, and man, sounds like Waterville has the technology. It skis like if you drive up to it, you almost think it's a corporate owned mountain. It feels that way in size. It feels that way in amenities. But once you get to the people, it doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels like an indie mountain. And I love the place. I want to explore it more. And I love skiing there. I love the events there. In fact, we can move on to that now because, God, you have some great events coming up as well. And, I could let Tim go and tell stories all day. I know I could and cut this into like a 3 or 4 parter. But, we can't sit on here for 3 or 4 hours. One day we might. You never know. I have a couple ideas.
I'm totally into it, by the way. If you want to dive in deeper in any part of my life, I'm totally into it. I love having conversations, especially at this point in the day.
Stay tuned, kids. There might be a live stream with the 2 Tims coming out, and we'll just go at it live. It'll be awesome. We'll do it on like a Saturday evening. It'll be great. But one of the big things you have coming now, for those who follow Ski Rex Media religiously on all corners, written, podcasts, photos, social media. I was at the FIS thing at Killington not too long ago. That race at one point, I think, was at Waterville many years ago. This year, you all have the Freestyle Nationals.
Yeah, so we had 11 World Cups here because, Tom Corcoran was an Olympic ski racer.
Totally
he was married to Bertie Britton now, and Bertie Corcoran at the time, and she was an Olympic athlete also. And so and with Sal Hanna as the designer of the mountain, they designed a mountain that was just perfect for ski racing. And it's an amazing hill. Tommy's World Cup, that run is an absolute gem.
Sure.
However, we also stumbled upon the fact that freestyle was a thing. Mm-hmm. And this happened when Tom Corcoran was in the 1970s, and he really wanted to figure out who was the best skier on the mountain. Was it the freestyler or was it the racer? And so they did this exhibition of freestyle skiing. And that was the first competition of freestyle skiing. It was held on True Grit. Wayne Wong competed in it. Bertie Britton actually competed in it. And they basically went down and they did whatever they could do down this mogully course. And it was timed and it was judged. And it was, if you fell and got back up, that was actually a bigger crowd applaud and a bigger crowd appreciation. And that gave you higher points. It was like the Wild West of skiing back then, right? And then at the bottom, it was a big flat section. And that was what introduced ballet. Mm-hmm. So you got all these different pieces of it. You got the big air part because people wanted to see you catch air. That became big air. That became, the aerials. Then you had the mogul part of it where they wanted to see you control yourself. When you were out of complete control, they wanted to see if you could regain your control. That became moguls. At the bottom, you had ballet because they wanted to see you do a stunt off of your ski poles. And Wayne Wong, of course, did the Wong banger, which was a complete accident because he was trying to do a tip roll and he hit the mogul too hard and flipped over his poles instead of around his poles. And that became the Wong banger. So all these things that happened at Waterville on True Grit ended up being part of freestyle. So we're super excited to bring Freestyle Nationals back because, hell, that was invented here. It's such a cool thing. And so when you go on Lower Bobbies, this trail is legit. It goes down 27 degrees and then drops to like 35 and then drops back out at 28 at the bottom. And my first year here, I did a bunch of different courses, and Nick Preston, Hannah Carney's coach,
Sure.
he came up to me, very modest, comes into the office. He brings in some refreshments for me and starts talking to me, and it's like, hey, my name's Nick Preston. I'm like, of course, I know who you are, man. Like, you need no introduction in my life.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
I am feeling super fortunate just to have you in my office. And he says, well, what do you think about maybe putting the bump course on Lower Bobbies? And I said, dude, you're Nick Preston. You want a bump course on Lower Bobbies? We're doing a bump course on Lower Bobbies. And so I got in the Winchcat. We pushed up some bumps on Lower Bobbies, and we hosted, I think it was the New England finals or something that year.
Sure.
And I was blown away. I studied the FIS specs on exactly what the highest end bump course could be. And then I was in my snowcat and I'm measuring the pitches that I'm at, and I'm like, wait, this thing goes 27, 35, 27, and it's 520 meters long. It's like exactly FIS spec.
Yeah.
I said, this is amazing. So I ended up pushing that course, and then a few years later, Nick pushed it forward with us and the U.S. ski team, and we met the U.S. ski team, and Jamie Cobbett, who's an amazing dude that works as our marketing manager, and he has a huge background in events, knew a bunch of the people, and so we got Freestyle Nationals here, we got the Rev Tour here, we had Alpine Nationals here, we've had, I think, 2 Freestyle Nationals, 1 Alpine Nationals. We were supposed to host the Alpine Nationals in 2021, but it was postponed because of COVID.
Sure.
It was postponed again this year because they needed to do it on the West Coast. Hopefully we'll get it back next year or the year following. But we love working. U.S. ski team, I got it right there in my vest. I love working with them. I love hosting these events. I do believe that when it comes to being an independent mountain and hosting this level of event, it gives all of our loyalists, the people that are here, the real Watervillians, the ones that are here day in and day out, it gives you something to aspire towards. And when you look at those athletes doing what they can do on our mountain, it is something incredible. It is so cool to see. And you were talking a little bit about my food truck earlier.
Yeah.
That food truck was designed for this event.
Okay. I can only imagine.
We worked with an outfit called Cruising Kitchens. We actually built it for a TV show called Built for Business. And the episode hasn't aired yet, but it's in season 3 of Built for Business. And the whole idea behind this was to be able to roll this thing up to the bottom of Lower Bobbies, lower the stage down, put stands on the stage so you could watch from the stage, you could do your awards from the stage. The back side of it's the actual food truck where you can get your food out of it, has a big screen TV, and then the top folds out and it makes a judging platform on the top.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that part of it, dude. That thing, that damn Transformer truck. Let me tell you something about this truck. You only see something like this in the military. Like, this is the next generation of what was once, the M35A or 2A, whatever it was, 6-ton, 6-wheel, or quarter-ton, 6-wheel, whatever it is.
Oshkosh 1070.
There you go.
The truck is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is the more modern version of those, and it's you know what? Waterville needs its own museum. You got so much going on there that's directly linked to its past. Like, this mountain has everything in its past that is now part of a future that's just getting better and bigger and brighter. And again, as you said, it's an independent thing, but it's so much more than that. It's an amazing place. I can't say enough about it.
You know, the coolest thing. So I mentioned my mentors a minute ago, and there's one mentor that's very close to me is Felix Kagi. Felix Kagi is from Switzerland. Maybe one of the reasons I have an affinity for Swiss manufacturing, but he was an incredibly detail-oriented individual, extremely kind to me, taught me a lot of things. And one of the things he taught me, so he's working for Peak Resorts, and he worked with Tim Boyd on acquisitions of different resorts. And he said, Tim, there's only 5 things you need to look for in a ski resort. Number 1 is location. You got to beat everybody else on location. That's how we make it. Number 2 is you got to have water. Number 3 is you got to have power, big power infrastructure. Number 4 is you got to have beauty and uniqueness. You know, they go hand in hand. And number 5 is location. I said, Felix, You said location twice, and goes, "It's that important, Tim."
That is.
So when I was looking at Waterville, I saw location. We're the first major mountain, first mountain of the White Mountains on the 93 corridor.
Yep.
So everybody has to pass us in order to go to another mountain.
Sure.
Number 2, water. We've got the Mad River. The Mad River has a ton of water in it, so I knew we had water. Number 3, power infrastructure. Tom Corcoran was a visionary in this. He brought in major power into the ski area. The entire town, 540 private acres, surrounded by the White Mountain National Forest. He stopped the power lines at the welcome sign.
Yeah.
If you go through Waterville, you won't see a power line. It's all underground.
Oh, no way. Never noticed.
It's something you won't notice. He also put in a septic system that blew away everybody else's.
Sure.
He was a visionary in that development. That allows us to not have the power problems of having all these above ground power lines.
Yeah.
He also brought a massive amount of power all the way up to the mountain, 12.4 kVA, all the way up to the mountain, and then ran that not only to the base, all the way to the summit.
Holy crap, dude.
We have an amazing amount of power here. When I saw the power infrastructure, I was like, ding, 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 that's a winner. So the power infrastructure is there. And then the last thing, other than location, is beauty.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
this place is unreal. We
ridiculous.
Are literally in the middle of the White Mountain National Forest. When you see us on a map, there's nothing else around us.
No.
Because we are 6 miles from the border of the White Mountain National Forest. The farm that used to exist is the reason we have 540 acres of private land inside of the White Mountain National Forest. It's like a Shangri-La.
Yeah.
And we talked about it earlier. The snow, the weather pattern, we're 1,000 feet higher than Plymouth. We get 1,000 vertical feet more. We end up with this little snow globe that ends up, today we were supposed to get a dusting. I think we got 4 inches up top. It's amazing. Yep. It's really cool. Surrounded all by 4,000 foot peaks. Such a unique place.
Oh, so unique. And for beauty, man, if you go to Waterville Valley, and I'm sure if you've never been there, we're kind of like, I don't know. I'm sure Tim has sold you on it 100%. But when you get to the top, take a look around, especially on a clear day. God, the day the lift opened, man, it was a beautiful day, and it was just awesome. Like, I can't even describe it. It was, the clouds were rolling in on some of the distant mountains. It just looked amazing. When you're driving up to the place, you're just out there in the forest. It's wonderful. Like, you jump off the interstate and you are immediately rural, and it's amazing. It's a great place, man.
I get blown away by how close it is to Boston.
Oh yeah.
I can go down, I can leave here. My house is in the valley. I live right here. This is my everything. So I'm right here in the valley. And when I drive out of the valley and realize, wait, there's no snow, like, where'd the snow go? Because there'll be snow in the valley and there won't be any snow just down the road. It's crazy. Then I drive down into Boston, and this is like in May, right? Drive down into Boston, and it's sunny, and people are in shorts and jogging. And I can go out and hang out and, go down to Fennel Hall, go to Cheers, go to the, whatever I'm doing. And then I can drive back home because it's only like 2 hours.
Yeah.
When I lived in Michigan, I used to drive 2 hours to go get dinner.
Yep. That rural lifestyle without a beautiful, wonderful interstate.
It's crazy. It's so awesome. And that was another thing. We talked about the Midwest and the Eastern side of things. The Eastern side of things, of being so close to everything, is absolutely amazing.
It can have its advantages. Like, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've driven all up and down the I-95, and you can have it. Like, I'm fine with that. I lived in New Jersey for many, many years. You can have the traffic there too, but you can get places. And as Tim said, you hop right on the I-93 and that dumps you right into Boston. Like, it goes right under Boston, as a matter of fact, I believe, right?
Yeah. We have one stoplight.
Yep.
One stoplight between us and Boston. That's it.
Yeah, and that's an odd place, that stoplight. It just kind of jumps out there. Like, I've seen it. I've stopped at it. I was like, why is this here? Like, shouldn't this be 2 stop signs on the outside and I can just keep going? It's a beautiful, wonderful place, man. And no joke, it should have its own museum dedicated to it, because there's so much that has happened there, so much that is happening there, so much that's going to happen there. You got anything you could tell us about for the future we could scoop on, or is it all secret plans?
I could go into our 10-year development plan, gondola down into town core, and what we're working with the National Forest and trying to get the master development plan into fruition. And the fact that our company, we developed a sister company with the development aspects of it. We purchased all of the C1 developable land in town. We've put up 4 condos so far. We've got another, I think, 9 on the way next summer. Then we're working on development of a large hotel. We're working on the development of the gondola that will be coming out of the town core, reaching the mid station at the base of Green Peak and going up the front side of Green Peak with all of the trails that come off the front side, really connecting our town to our ski area, which will be just a massive game changer, right? That it will cut down on our need to drive buses. It will make it so that the guests can walk out of their hotel room carrying their skis, get on a gondola, and go right up to the top of the chairlift. All those things we're working on. Nothing right now that can be like, hey man, Tim, we got it. We're building it next year.
Nice.
Not quite yet, but we're getting there. I can tell you, I have my eye on the big prize. That's my 10-year development plan.
Sure.
I also have it on the little things. Little things like regrading our parking lots. For some reason, back in the 1970s, they decided to pave our parking lots. Horrible idea, by the way, if you're dealing with salt and snow and that's the only time you really park there. Sure. So we ground up our parking lots this year and regraded the parking lots. It was something that hadn't been done in a long time and made the parking way better. So it's those little differences. Everything down to, and I'm going to mention it, I know I'm getting a lot of flack for it right now, our bag policy. Some people hate my bag policy. And I really, really, over COVID, the one thing that I learned was that there's more people out there that just want to be able to sit down and not have to deal with your bag than there are with people that are putting their bags there. So we've gone pretty hard at it. I'll admit it. We have 3 ways of doing it. You can put your bag in the car. You can put your bag in our locker, or you can put our bag in our bag check. And those are things that we really want to concentrate on. If you need that amenity, I'm happy to provide it. It's just going to be at an additional cost because not everybody needs it, and not everybody should have to pay for what you need.
Sure.
So that's my idea behind it. I've been pushing hard on it, and our loyal guests really appreciate the fact that we don't have bags all over our lodge, that our lodge isn't a complete mess. When you go in for lunch, there's a place to sit even on our busiest days. So we've been really pushing hard on that. And I know it's a cultural thing, and I know that I'm really trying hard. And once again, I may be the dumbest or I may be the smartest general manager in the room. The verdict's still out, but I'm working on that one. But it's all those little intimate details about how you operate your ski resort that really set us apart from the competition. And when you talk about, trying to get the inside scoop on development, the one thing that I'm super excited about right now is this idea of this new T-bar. It's been approved with the National Forest. We're going to replace exhibition platter lift and the World Cup T-bar with one T-bar that goes directly adjacent to our new chairlift, and will take you up an additional roughly 250 vertical feet. So you can access everything the platter lift and the T-bar accesses now, and a little bit more, to be honest. And then we're going to light it all. And we're going to have night skiing off that T-bar. So that's the thing that I'm really looking at, kind of my mid-stage plan right now. I love night skiing. I grew up in Michigan. I ran Crotchet Mountain. We had Midnight Madness where we ran until 3 a.m., 18 days out of the year. Whoa. We ran from 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. Yeah, it's crazy. I always said every year I worked at Crotchet, it was like I worked 2 years. I got 2 years of experience every 1 year I worked there. But I'm looking at that. It's a really cool experience to think about that T-bar. 700 feet per minute, which means it's going to go, as fast as a slow high-speed quad. I don't know how to put that, but it's a fast lift. The new T-bars, we have one in the high country. They're super comfortable. They don't have that quick jolt that you get from the old ones. They have a hydraulic inside it instead of a spring. So as it spins up, it kind of tensions instead of like that hard push. Yeah. So they're just way more comfortable. They spin at a high rate of speed. It's going to get our competitors, because we are a competition mountain. So it'll get our competitors up the mountain to deliver them in the position where they can start their races or they can start their park event, and we'll really be able to focus on that. So I'm really excited about that T-bar. I can't say, when it's going to come, I'm also balancing the budget, and I'll tell you what, that chairlifting cost me a pretty penny. So having to balance that budget, we're still a couple years out from that T-bar, but we're really looking forward to putting that T-bar in.
Awesome. I support surface lifts, man. Now that I can ride them without problems. I've been up the one y'all got there now. Nice, fancy orange, right up to the top. Beautiful. Love it. And didn't fall off it, so that's good. Rode it with Jumpin' Steve, as a matter of fact. Shout out to Jumpin' Steve, local celebrity down there at Waterville. Man, you all have it going on. It sounds like, you know what, we're not going to stay on much longer because we've gone over an hour, and we could keep going. And believe me, now I'm thinking of a way that we can keep going. We'll get a few people in, and we'll just go all day. It'll be great. But if the zombie apocalypse happens, this is where you want to be. They've got the power.
We talked about that, actually.
Well, there you go.
Right at the beginning of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Of course, everyone's going zombie apocalypse. I'm like, I know exactly the tree I'm cutting on 49 that's going to block off this road, and then I spit off this whole idea, this whole plan, and then Barry St. Cyr goes, "You really think the military isn't going to take us over like that?" I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. We have generators. We have a ton of diesel fuel. We have the ability to power this entire plant off of our generator. Like, yeah, you're probably right. We have a communication site. We have all that stuff. It is the place to be for the zombie apocalypse, though.
It really is. Like, the military's not coming up here. We're that's the beauty of us. Run for the hills. Remember, you heard that. Iron Maiden, man. Dude, they're not coming up here. This is where I'll probably going. Or I'll just go to Whaleback, but whatever. It's closer, and who knows if we'll have gas during the zombie apocalypse. And I'm not a great cross-country guy, which we didn't even get to get into that either. I don't know how much of that you have to deal with.
Oh, man, it's awesome. I love it because I deal with it very little because I have the best Nordic director. Ian Cullison is absolutely hands down. I'll put him up against anybody. He can make a trail out of literally nothing.
Nice.
The fact that we still have Nordic after all of this that we've gone through, I think he's trying to get 10K open for the weekend, something like that. But we have 74 kilometers of Nordic skiing, and we have our first new Nordic trail this year, Rough Rider, that's going to connect our north end, Snows Mountain area down to our south end without having to come back into town. Super excited.
Wow.
It's a part of our sport that goes underappreciated, in my opinion. I think that the Nordic is so cool. And talking about Indy, we are an Indy Pass mountain for the Nordic also.
Yep.
So someone can come up here, have 4 days skiing Alpine 2 and Nordic 2 and have a wonderful time.
Yeah, you really can. I was actually going to say that too. Talking to Doug Fish, talking to Reese Brown, these folks who know, because I don't know anything about it. I haven't cross-country skied since my senior year in high school, man. And it's been a while. I graduated in 97, not going to lie. But you have it all over there, and it's a wonderful place. I highly, highly encourage you to check it out. Very easy to get to, very accessible. I enjoy it. I've been there several times. Like I said, I was there for the opening of the lift. I'm going to be there for the U.S. Nationals. I'm going to be there for the side hit seance. There's a couple things I'm going to be bouncing in and out of Waterville for. Plus, I'm going to get a ski day or two in there as well.
I got to take my glades. Don't forget about the glades.
And if you ski glades, I'm sure they got glades. Now, me, I don't know much about it because I stay out of them now. That was for younger me. Younger me was all about that life. Old me is like, nah, I'm good, thanks. But they have them.
I work on glades every weekend all summer long. It's my passion. I've been doing it since I was about 15 years old. My dad took me out cutting glades at Sugarloaf on Manitou, and ever since then, I've developed a passion for cutting glades. It just is the coolest thing.
It is wonderful if you do it, and you can do it. Now, for me personally, kidding aside, I just don't feel confident in my abilities anymore, or I also don't feel confident in my knees to do it anymore. Can do it. Do I have the skill to do it? Yes. Did I do it over at Dartmouth the other day? Yeah, a little bit I did. I'm not going to lie. I also found an easy one over at J Peak last season, just to kind of get back into it, but I'm not doing bumps anymore. No.
Oh man,
I'm not doing
You're
that
limiting
anymore.
yourself, man.
Oh, I am absolutely limiting myself on bumps. Me and bumps, we do not get along. I can tell. I tell everybody this is not a joke. It was on Bear Trap. It was in the 96, 97 season. That was the last bump run I did at Mount Snow, and I'm good. I've had my fill.
What are you, a groomer guru?
I am now.
Powder hound.
Oh, I'm all groomers now, baby. I don't play around. I will cruise all day with everybody. I will ski other stuff like I can. Again, joking aside, I can do it. But typically I just like to cruise now, man. And I found that at Waterville too, man. And I that True Grit Trail, I did that, and that's a double, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
super wide. People underestimate it because they're so used to the steep trails being narrow on the, and our trails here are super, super wide. And it kind of it morphs how steep they actually are. And most of our steep trails have a rolling contour.
Yep.
So they don't come into that, like, if you go to a lot of the steep trails around here, they're only steep for like a couple hundred feet off of the catwalk.
Yeah, totally.
At Waterville, we have these trails. I think Bobby's is something like 1,200 feet long at 30, 32 or 33 degrees average pitch.
Sure.
It's crazy how steep that thing will actually go to. But you ease your way into it, so you feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's actually a great set of trails, and it looks great too from the what is that, the Green Valley side? If you're going up that lift, Green Peak. Where did Green Valley come from? Oh my God. 3 episodes I've recorded this week, and I've made so many bonehead things like that. Like, people are like, do you know what you're saying? I'm like, clearly I don't. I just don't know. I was talking to Carly Bascom the other day, talking about riding a pair of snowboards. I was like, wait, you only put on one of those, not 2. What the? All right, whatever. But anyway, you're riding up that lift and you look across to these steeps at Waterville. They look fantastic, like very picturesque, very nice to look at, and then nice to ride too. I did it for the fun of it, and I was there shooting pictures for Rob Dresser with his kids, his freestyle kids. He's a coach, and I was shooting pictures for him over there, and watching those kids skiing is ridiculous. But man, it's a fun trail. It's nice and wide. It's a wonderful time, man.
What did you think of Green Peak?
I like it over there, man. I really do. I was taken over there. It was my first day there, and I was skiing with someone who had been there quite a bit, and he's like, come over here. He's like, for a little while, because he's not as in great shape either. He has physical issues and stuff too, for real ones, not just a wuss like me. And so we were over there taking it easy for a little while, and man, that's a great little area over there. I have fun over there. In fact,
that's what
Steve
I love
and I
to
were
hear.
over there.
I'd love to hear that, because I get some flack about the fact we didn't put a high speed quad, and it really wasn't the right spot to put the high speed on.
Yeah.
It's on a ridge line, so it's going to get wind holds. We know that. In the master development plan, we have a gondola that comes up on the other side. So it really turns into a tertiary lift in the development plan. But the main thing is that acreage over there can handle a lot more skiers than what that lift can produce. So we end up with groomers all day over there, even on our busy days. We also end up with a lot of the hardcore fast skiers won't go over there. They're like, I don't want to ride a 13-minute lift line.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine. Don't. Please don't, because I want to have that terrain to myself.
Yeah,
and
totally.
That way it feels totally different. It slows you down. It makes it feel like the Magics or the Whalebacks or the Blacks, those core mountains where you get that time to slow down. You have the conversation with your son. For me, you have a conversation with your son. It's the good old fashioned skiing. And it's cool to be able to provide both of those products at the same mountain.
Yeah, you really do get both of those. You can hang out over there if you want to slow it down, or if you want to go hit the robot chair over there, the brand new one. You can do that too, man. Waterville has everything you could want. It's a lot of fun. Again, we didn't really get into the Nordic thing. I don't know much about it anyway. It doesn't matter. That's why we had Reese Brown on the program, because he knows it all and I know nothing. Doug Fish, again, and it's why we like to talk to people who run these mountains, because we learn things. And man, we learned a lot today. We can learn a lot more. Anything else you want to throw out there? It's watervillevalley.com, I assume.
Yeah, watervillevalley.com. Come visit us on social, Waterville Resort on all the social media. We post constantly. You can get content updates. Check our webcam. And we're very, like you said, we're very true. We're very honest. We try to get out there with the right information. And if you look for it, it will be there for you.
Excellent. Well, that's awesome, Tim. Thank you very much for doing this and telling all these great stories. I'm not kidding when I say I will get you back to do something much longer, much more in depth, and we might even get you some friends to talk to. Maybe we'll get you and John and Danny Allen over there from Black and just have a grand old time. These people, because we all eventually end up knowing each other. It's very weird. I was talking to Jack McGuirk, whom I ran into the day that Tecumseh Express opened. That was odd. He texted me. He's like, dude, I'm at Waterville too. I'm like, awesome. Where are you? And we had a good long talk there. But, I've made the jokes, just because we're all in the same industry doesn't mean we know each other. Yeah, we kind of do. It's just a whatever it is. Because we're tight-knit, we're small, we have a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you, sir. I really do appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Really appreciate your time. I love having these conversations. Great time of the day to talk.
Absolutely, dude. We will do it again. Thank you.
Absolutely.
There he goes, everybody. Tim Smith, holding it down, running Waterville Valley. Really interesting guy. That was a lot of fun, dude. Tell me that one wasn't a lot of fun. You can tell me that if you think that, but I don't know how you could think that, because that was a lot of fun, really informative, a lot of good stories. We'll definitely have to do more with Tim Smith. And I'm thinking, because of all the stories he has, he knows people with a lot of stories. John Hunt from Whaleback, he has stories. Man, you know what? We're just going to have to get a bunch of these industry folks together on one program and just tell stories. Maybe we'll do a live stream or something and just tell stories for a while. Maybe we can get some guest interaction. Fan interaction, not just guest interaction, but fan interaction. And we'll get more stories, more education, more learning, whatever it is. Man, I think it would be a lot of fun. Also, I don't know if you thought this was fun, but I did leave the little biff in during the program when Tim's microphone started picking up the phone instead of working with the computer, and it was dead air, and we were like, oh, I lost him and all this and that. I thought that was fun to leave it in. I left it in because, hey, I'm real. And doing it once in a while. Obviously, if it was anything longer, I would have cut it out because that just would have been obnoxious. Do you think it was fun? Do you think this was obnoxious? Do you think I'm a tryhard by leaving stuff in there and trying to be real, man? I don't know. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. But you can let me know by contacting Ski Rex Media, which you could do on Ski Rex Media's social media through DM or comments. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those good things. Ski Rex Media on all of them. Or you could send me an email, contact@skirexmedia.com. Links are not in the description, but there is a link in the description for the website, and then the website has all the contact information. It might be a two-tap thing for you, but if you just do contact@skirexmedia.com, you can send me an email, and people have been doing that lately with tips and, like talking about Bird's Eye Mountain on the other side of Rutland. Someone sent me an email that was still on the market. I just doubled that. I can't believe I did that. To be proper, someone sent me an email that Bird's Eye Mountain is still on the market. Better? I'm trying to work on being better, everyone. In any case, thank you for listening to the Ski Rex Media podcast. New episodes continue next week. Who's it going to be? Well, I'm not sure yet. I have an idea or two, but we're going to have a few more industry folks here back to back to back, because I am going to King Pine and Gunstock for a little bit of a media event for a couple days. We're going to be talking to some people down there. Plus, there'll be stuff on social media from all of that. Right. Thank you for listening to the Ski Rex Media podcast. I really do hope you enjoy it. Please subscribe. Please follow. Please rate it where you can. Check out the links to Whaleback Mountain in Enfield, New Hampshire, and St. Custom Skis and Snowboards in Gorham, New Hampshire. I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Tell them Tim sent you from Ski Rex Media. And I think that's everything for this week, my friends. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good time out there. Later.